Hi everyone, it's Lara here from LK Yoga, and today we're going to be going through our balance sequence. So all you might need is a block or equivalent. If you've not got a block, then you can use a thick book or a Tupperware pot or anything. Block is ideal. We're going to have one handy if you can today. We're going to start class lying on our backs. So just going to take the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, full body stretch, nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, just let the arms come down the sides of the body, just having the palms face up. Just taking a moment here to settle into your mat, making sure the shoulders feel nice and broad and relaxed. Trying to relax all the muscles in the face as well. Just being aware of the position that you're holding your hips. So if one hip's drawn up slightly, just trying to even them off here. Then from here, just focusing in on the breath. So nice deep inhales, letting the lungs fill. And then as you exhale, just releasing any tension you might find. Just giving the fingers and the toes a little wiggle, bring the life and energy into the body. And then from here, we're going to draw the left knee into the chest, just squeeze it in briefly. Rock gently the left and right, just giving the hip capture a little massage here. And then we're going to take the hands down and extend the leg. Briefly hover it just above the mat, draw the belly button in towards the spine to engage the core, and then gently let it come down. So comparing how the left side feels to the right already, and then drawing the right knee in this time, interlacing the fingers round. Try and interlace one finger over if you can, and just gently rock the hip left and right again. From here, taking the hands back down, extending the leg, just hovering briefly off the mat, drawing the belly button down, and gently setting it back on the mat. From here, we're going to draw both knees in this time, so we're going to give ourselves a little squeeze, draw the forehead in as well, tiny little ball. And we're going to slowly rock our way up to seated, so just giving the spine a bit of a massage as you go, or finding your way to seated any way that's comfortable for you. Just making sure you feel nice and even in the sit bones, growing tall. And I'm going to take the right hand behind us, the left hand to the knee, coming into a gentle twist, over towards the right side, so growing nice and tall on the inhale, and exhaling, twisting and gazing over the shoulder. Then coming back towards center, right hand comes to the outside of the left knee, left hand comes behind, inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, twisting, gazing over the left shoulder. And then coming back towards center here, I'm going to do a few shoulder rolls, nothing too major here, just getting them moving. If you want to get the chest involved too, that's great. Just get all the movement through the torso too. Reversing the direction, just making sure we're nice and warm and starting to loosen up through the shoulders. And then from here, we come to our tabletop position. So we're going to take the hands underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips here, coming to roughly the center of your mat. We're going to draw the belly button in towards the spine, and then using this draw, we're going to slowly come into our cat. So we're going to start to round through the back. Then as we exhale, we're going to draw the shoulders down the back to come into our cow. So today, just being a little bit aware of how our core can help facilitate this movement. So as we come into the cow again, we really draw the shoulders down, try and create a dip through the spine. And then as we come back, we draw the belly button in as we round back up to cat. Just moving in your own time here, just being aware of how the whole body feels during this position. Great work. And then as we come back to a neutral spine, I'm going to try and make sure the belly is engaged, so the belly button's drawn in slightly, we've got a nice flat back. And coming to our first balancing pose, it's one we've done before. We're going to extend the left arm out in front of us and the right leg behind us. So be aware of trying to keep the hips nice and equal here. You don't want the right hip to lift. Then really reach and extend. Try and keep a slight bend in the supporting right arm here. Fingers spread as well on the floor to help keep you balanced. Then drawing the knee in towards the elbow, rounding, squeezing up as tight as you can. Extending back out for a moment. And then gently setting down. Coming to the other side, we're going to lift the right hand and the left leg, reaching out, growing as long as we can. And then squeezing in, knee towards the elbow. And extending back out, really reaching best you can. And setting back down, great work. From here, coming to our thread the needle position. So we're going to lift the left arm up towards the side, towards the sky. And then threading the arm through underneath you. So left shoulder comes to rest on the mat. If you want, you can tuck the toes on the right foot, that's the opposite leg. Straighten through the back of the leg, pressing the heel away slightly here. Drawing the right knee down, extending the left arm up towards the ceiling, and then placing it back on the mat, coming over to the other side, lifting the right arm nice and high, taking the arm through underneath you, drawing the right shoulder to the mat. Option to tuck the toes on the left foot here, and press the heel away. Then drawing the left knee down, taking the right arm back up towards the ceiling, great work, and placing both hands on the mat. And from here, coming to our first downward facing dog. So tucking the toes, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling behind you, keeping a slight bend in the knees, and then just starting to pedal through the feet. So taking one heel down than the other, maybe giving the hips a bit of a twist. Just trying to keep the ears in line with the biceps here. Just pedaling back and forth. Great work. And we're going to slowly walk our feet in towards the hands, coming to right dog at the top of our mat. So just taking your time to get up to the top of your mat. Really deep bend in the knees for now, so not very warm. Hands come to opposite elbows. We're just going to gently rock left and right. Trying to let the neck be nice and long here. The shoulders relax down. So even though the knees are bent, we're still trying to lift the hips up. Finding the length through the back of the body this way. And the hands come down towards the toes on the inhale, rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders, circling the arms nice and wide, lifting the chest, drawing the hands into prayer. As we exhale, folding back down one more time. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift, straightening out through the back. And then exhaling, folding back down. On the inhale, rolling up through the spine one more time, circling the arms wide. This time as we draw the hands into prayer, we're going to find our tree position. So stay facing ahead, I'm just going to twist so you can see me. So what we're going to do is find any variation of tree. So we're going to lift the left leg and just make sure the right foot feels nice and balanced. We can feel the lift in the inner arch on the right foot. So the first variation of tree is just to have the heel gently pressing against the leg and the toes resting on the floor. If you're finding that okay, you can try drawing the leg a little bit higher, trying to keep the left knee facing out to the side, but the hips facing forward. If you're okay with that as well, you can use the hand just to adjust the leg and take it higher. If this balance feels okay, as long as you're growing tall, drawing the belly button in, you can try taking the arms up overhead. So that's the next level on the pose. Trying to keep a very, very slight micro bend in the right knee here if you can. And then we're going to switch over sides. So in between, just coming back to the top of the mat, and fold forward, take a little half sun salutation. So folding down on the inhale, finding a halfway lift. Exhaling, lowering back down. Rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders, circling the arms nice and wide. Drawing the hands into prayer. This time coming to the other side in tree. So remember, you've got all three options. So just taking the version that suits you. Trying to grow tall through the spine. Keeping that belly engaged will help you find balance, as will lengthening through the back of the neck. Trying to feel really tall as you stand. Nice and strong. Option to take the arms overhead like on the other side. Keeping the shoulders engaged so the inner elbows face in. And then gently and in control, if you can, coming out the pose, circling the arms up one more time, and bringing the hands into prayer as we fold forward. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift, and this time we're going to step the left leg back, coming into our modified crescent moon lunge. So the left knee comes down, we're going to take the arms up overhead, sinking into the hips. Really great work. Keeping the toes on the front foot nice and relaxed. I'm going to take a little twist here. So drawing the hands into prayer, twisting towards the right. So the left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee. Just sinking the hips still down if you can. Spine's lovely and long. And the rest of the body is as relaxed as we can make it. So we've got no unnecessary tension in the body. And then from here, taking the arms back overhead, finding our half split position. So hands come down to the mat. I'm going to start to straighten the front leg here. Remember, you can take your block in line with the left leg. If you've got two, you can have one on either side. I'm going to draw the chest through. I'm trying to keep the right hip hugging back here. It's going to try and wander forward, so draw it back if you can. Toes point to the ceiling on the right foot. And then gently lowering the toes down, moving the block out the way. Arms come up overhead. Then hands frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank, pressing the heels away. Gently drawing the knees down, lowering the chest to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, gently lifting to cobra. And then exhaling, lowering back down. From here, finding your way back to downward facing dog in your own time. Just a brief moment in downward facing dog this time. And I'm going to slowly walk the feet in towards the hands. Coming back to our forward fold at the top of the mat. Great work. So folding in. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift. On the exhale, folding back down. Rolling up through the spine, circling the arms up overhead. And drawing the hands into prayer. And again, we're just going to take a moment here. I'm going to try and extend the leg out in front of us this time. So we're going to start with the left leg. We're going to draw the knee in towards the chest. If this feels enough, then that's fine, stay here. And we're going to try and stay as tall as we can. You don't want to lean back here to compensate for the extension of the leg. So try and draw the belly button in and stay as upright as you can. Try not to lean back. Also try and keep the hips level. Just holding for a moment. Can you lift the leg any higher? And then gently setting the leg down. Coming to the other side. So one side might feel easier than the other. Maybe trying and extending it. Remember, you don't have to extend it if that feels too much. Also, if you're practicing with carpet underneath you, it will make it a lot harder. So try and practice on a solid floor if you can when doing balancing poses. Draw the knee back in and gently set it down. Great work. Circling the arms. Drawing the hands into prayer. Exhaling, folding forward. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift. And this time I'm going to draw the right knee back. So coming into our modified crescent moon lunge on the other side. Sweeping the arms up overhead, sinking into the hips as best we can, keeping the shoulders engaged, inner elbows face in. Taking the hands to prayer, twisting towards the left. So the right elbow comes to the outside of the left knee, gazing over the shoulder towards the left elbow if you can. Keeping the spine lovely and long, feeling pretty active here in the front foot. So it's relaxed, but you can still feel the inner arch there. Our feet are super important in our balancing poses. So we'll make sure we're aware of them today. And then taking the arms back overhead, great work. Finding the half split position like we did on the other side. Drawing the left leg straight. So remember, you don't have to use a block. You can keep the fingertips on the mat if that feels comfortable for you. We do want to keep the backs quite straight. So I'd say even I should use a block in this pose whilst I'm not warm. So I'm going to draw the chest through, keeping the left hip back as well if you can remember. Wonderful work. I'm going to roll onto the toes, moving the block out the way, hands come up overhead. Gently framing the front foot. This time as we step back, lowering the knees down, coming all the way to the mat. So we're going to move any blocks out the way, so I'm going to pop mine up there. And we're just going to keep the head on the mat for a second, making sure the elbows are roughly in line with the shoulders. We're going to do some shoulder openers. So we're going to gaze over towards the right, left ear comes to the mat. Right leg comes up and over. Don't worry if the toes don't come all the way to the other side. Then if you want, you can extend the right arm here as well. Just press yourself a little bit deeper. You can try moving the left arm around as well. Maybe slightly higher if you want to get a little bit more intensity out of the stretch. And then coming back towards centre, this time the right arm bends. And the right cheek comes down. We gaze over towards the left. Extend the left arm if you want. drawing the left leg over. Great work. And then slowly coming back towards center, taking the hands under the shoulders on the inhale, lifting from the chest and the back to our cobra. Exhaling, lowering down. And in your own time, coming back to downward facing dog. Great work, everyone. Remember, your yoga practice is always just a bit of fun as much as it is anything else. So always have a go at these poses. Just see where you get to. Don't take anything too seriously. Just try and enjoy your practice. So from downward facing dog, we're going to lift the left leg nice and high. I'm going to step the left leg through to the top of the mat, coming to crescent moon lunge. So I'm going to press the heel away. We're going to engage through the core, drawing the belly button to the spine, and then taking the arms up overhead. So we're going to try and sink into the hips here. And now we're going to come back to our twist. Remember, you can drop the back knee down here for balance, but we're going to try and test our balance. So we're going to draw the hands to prayer and find our twist in the standing pose. So the right elbow comes to the outside of the left knee, and we gaze over towards the left elbow, pressing the back heel, the right heel down and away to draw strength through the right leg, which is going to help keep us stable. So you will feel that you wobble around a little bit, that's good. All that wobbling's help building up all the stability muscles, getting everything firing. And then from here, coming back to crescent moon lunge, taking the arms overhead. I'm going to shorten the stance slightly, drawing the hands into prayer. So I just want you to feel nice and balanced in your legs. We're going to have a go at warrior 3. So for warrior 3, we're going to lift the back leg up behind us whilst we transfer the weight into the front leg. So I'm going to draw my front leg back a little bit just because I've got a chest of drawers in front of me. So just working with the space you've got, you're going to draw the leg onto the weight onto the front leg, engaging through the core, trying to keep the hips level. Coming as high as feels comfortable for you, so don't worry if you can't come all the way down. I'd rather you worked on keeping the hips level than came too deep into the pose today. Just breathing deeply, taking a moment here. And then gently coming back to crescent moon lunge, taking the arms up overhead, sinking into the pose. Then hands frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank. Just taking a moment here, building a little bit of strength. Slight bend in the elbows, pressing the heels back. Trying to keep the bum down, the core engaged. And then lowering the knees down, chest comes all the way to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, lifting to cobra. And exhaling, lowering down. From here, coming into child's pose. Just taking a moment in child's pose to come back to the breath. And having a little wiggle left and right. And we'll take the hands over towards the left, stretching out down the right hand side of the body, trying to wrap the right shoulder down and keep the weight over the right hip as much as you can to get the deepest stretch possible here. And then coming back through center and over to the other side. So we're going to stretch down the left side now. Hands over to the right. And then back towards center. From here, pressing into the hands, lifting the hips high up behind you, coming into downward facing dog. So just a moment in downward facing dog, just checking in, making sure we're pressing evenly through each tip of the finger and the thumb, keeping a slight bubble of air under the knuckles and pressing in through the base of the hand as well. Trying to keep the shoulders engaged. We're going to wrap the inner elbows in and just lift the hips a little higher if we can. On the inhale, lifting the right leg up behind you, drawing the knee into the chest and stepping through to the top of the mat. Don't worry if you need an extra step, just finding your best variation of the pose. Any micro adjustments are always fine. Sinking into the hips. Remember, you can take the back knee down again if that suits you. Then take the hands to prayer and find a twist towards the right this time. So left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee. We try and gaze up towards the right elbow. Sinking into the hips if you can. Great work. And then when you're ready, coming back to crescent moon lunge, engaging through the core, taking the arms up overhead. Drawing the hands to prayer and just straightening the back leg a little bit more, stepping in, shortening the stance. I just want you to feel really balanced before you have a go at warrior 3 on this side. So remember, we're going to slowly transfer the weight into the front foot And then see if we can gently lift the back leg behind us. We're going to try and keep the hips as even as possible here. And a slight bend in the standing leg. That's just going to help us build strength through the lower leg, keeping it nice and active. You'll see I'm wiggling around a little bit here on the bottom leg. That's really good news. It means my lower leg's working hard to keep me stable and I'm not locked out through any joints. And then gently coming back to warrior three, taking the arms up overhead. Then hands frame the front foot. Stepping back to the plank, briefly holding here. Then lowering the knees down, chest comes all the way to the floor. This time we'll extend the arms out in front of us. So we're just lying on the mat. On the inhale, we're going to lift the left arm and the right leg, growing nice and long, reaching out. And then gently setting down. Coming over to the other side, lifting the right hand and the left leg, reaching out. And then gently setting down. One more time either side, and lift the left hand and the right leg, growing long. And setting down. Right hand, left leg, reaching out. And then setting it down. Hands come under the shoulders, inhaling, gently lifting to cobra. And exhaling, lowering down. And finding your way back to downward facing dog. So great work. Quite an active class. So try and stay with it. You're already halfway through. Not too much more flowing to go either. So just trying to stick with it, feeling nice and energetic. This time we come to our warrior two flow. So on the inhale, we're going to lift the left leg nice and high. Option to bend and open the top leg, so we draw the heel towards the bum, the knee up towards the ceiling. Trying to keep the torso facing down towards the mat. So we draw the left shoulder down here. It doesn't sort of open up across the chest. We're going to step the left foot through to the top of the mat, coming into warrior two. And we're going to come into the pose and then twist around to face you. So we want the front foot to be along the centre line of the mat and the back foot to be crossing the centre line behind you. So the front heel is in line with the centre of the inner arch on the back foot. Trying to keep the torso upright at first, hips face forward, gazing out over the front hand here. Then reaching forward as we turn the front palm and reverse our warrior. And exhaling, coming forward to extended side angle. Really reaching out at the tips of the fingers of the right hand, pressing through the outside edge of the back foot here. We want the bottom arm to be as light as we can. And then coming back into warrior two. From here, we're going to find our way into triangles. We're going to step the front foot forward and then gently fold over the front leg. So you can step either leg forward. I'm just stepping the front foot back to shorten the pose so that I've got plenty of space for the next balancing pose we're going to come into. So remember, this is an option. You can just stay here in triangle if this feels enough. If you'd like, option to have a go at half moon. So this is where a block comes in really handy. We're going to take the block to be about a foot in front of you. We're going to transfer the weight into the front foot and then lift the back leg up behind us. So you want to try and stack the right hip on top of the left, right shoulder on top of the left as well. Keeping the core engaged. Great work. You can have the hand on the floor here, but what you'll find is you're a little bit more collapsed over the hips. So I generally think it's a lot better to try and have the hand resting on something. You can always use the chair as well, and just take the hand to rest on the chair instead. When you're ready, gently stepping back to warrior two, moving any blocks out of the way. And then hands frame the front foot, and this time coming straight back to downward facing dog. Just taking a moment to catch your breath in downward facing dog. See if you can lift the hips a little higher. And then when you're ready, we're going to lift the right leg up behind you. Option to bend and open, heel comes towards the bum, knee comes up towards the sky. And then stepping the right foot through to the top of the mat, coming into warrior two on the other side. So we try to sink into the bend of the front leg, keeping the torso upright here. And then reaching forward, turning the front palm, reversing the warrior, right arm comes up overhead. And exhaling, coming forward to extended side angle. And when you're ready, coming back into warrior two briefly. And then finding your way into triangle. So again, we're drawing the front leg back to make space this time for half moon. And if staying in triangle feels enough for you, that's absolutely fine. If you'd like to have a go at half moon, we're just going to take the block to be about a foot in front of us. And then we're going to gently lift the back leg up behind us. So we want the block ideally to sit just below the hand when the hand stacks below the shoulder. So this will help us find balance and help us distribute the weight evenly through the body. Again, you want the heel to be roughly underneath the hip if you can. But just focusing on trying to find your balance at first. Trying to make sure that the standing leg, the supporting leg, has a slight bend in the knee as well. Gently stepping back to warrior two, moving any blocks out the way, or attempting to move any blocks out the way. And then taking the hands to face the front foot, stepping back to a plank position, gently lowering the knees down, chest comes all the way to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, gently lifting to cobra. And as we exhale this time, we're going to find our way back to child's pose. And just taking a moment in child's pose to catch your breath. Knees can be together or apart. Just breathing deeply. Slowly getting through. Before you know it, it'll be time to finish. So just trying to enjoy every moment of your practice if you can. As you inhale, feeling the back of the body expand, the shoulder blades move apart to accommodate the breath. As you exhale, just letting everything sink down and relax. We're going to slowly draw the hands in and come to kneeling. So we're going to come into hero now. So you can stay where you are. I'm just going to the front of the mat so you can see me a little bit better for our next couple of poses. So for hero, I advise if this is the first time you've tried this pose, to sit on a block. So to take the block between the legs. Just because we're going to be here for a little while, so it might be a little bit uncomfortable. Also, if all these poses feel very uncomfortable, just come to a cross-legged pose. It's absolutely fine. You'll be able to join in the upper half of the pose, the body stuff, just as well. But if you can, we're going to have a go at hero. So we're going to lean onto our knees, and then for hero, we're going to take our feet so that the inside edge of the foot presses into the mat. I'm then going to try and draw my knees together here. So you can do this without a block and come to sit all the way on the mat, but I'd only do that if you cannot feel anything at all like this, because we're going to be here for a moment. This is a really good way to start to get the feet used to turning in this position. It is a little bit unusual. So as you can see, my feet face out, the inside edges on the mat. And from here, we're going to take eagle arms. So we're going to take the arms up overhead. I'm going to draw the left arm underneath the right, just sitting it on there. I'm going to interlace the hands, and I'm going to lift the arms up. So I want my elbows to be roughly in line with my eyes, and then I can gently press the hands away from me to activate the pose around the backs of the shoulders. If it's difficult to interlace the hands, you can just rest the hands so that the backs of the hands touch each other like that, or you can even just hold onto the shoulders as well. So working with whatever variation of the pose works for you. So I'm going to take the arms out to the side, really open across the chest in between. Give the arms a little wiggle. At this time, arms come back overhead. Right arm comes underneath and the left arm comes on top. Interlacing the arms if you can. We're going to draw our arms to be in line with our gaze. Press the hands away just slightly. Keep the shoulders relaxed if you can. It is quite an intense pose, so well done for sticking with it. And then taking the arms back out to the side, really open across the chest. And then just let go, give them a wiggle, and come out of hero now. So your feet might feel a bit unusual, so you come forward really gently, moving the block out of the way, and then pressing into the hands, lifting the hips up behind you. Great work. And downward facing dog, maybe just giving each leg a little bit of a wiggle out, maybe having a pedal. And then from here, I'm going to walk the feet in towards the hands. I'm going to walk all the way to the top of the mat. And then maybe taking the hands to a block, coming into your forward fold. Other options that you've got is to take the hands to the backs of the legs and draw yourself in. Or maybe even take the hands to rest under the toes, as so. So yogi's choice, whatever option works for you. Just trying to let the whole of the back of the body relax so the neck lengthens as well. So drawing the forehead in to meet the knees here. When you're ready, we're going to find our way into a chair. So I'm going to roll up through the spine, set the shoulders. I'm going to circle the arms up overhead. Then from here, I'm going to draw the hips back behind us, engage through the core, belly button draws in. I'm going to bend through the knees at the very last point of the pose. Keep the chest lifted, inner elbows face in. So if this feels enough, this is the leg position we're going to use in our eagle pose next. If not, you can have a go at the bind. I'm going to stand back up and take the hands to prayer. So I'm going to twist to face you just so you can see me again. So remember, you can just do the chair or even keep the legs straight if that feels enough for you. We're going to come back to our eagle arms now. So taking the arms up overhead, drawing the left arm down and then the right. And interlace the hands and then just very slightly lift the arms so the elbows are in line with the gaze. So my left arm's underneath, so I'm going to lift the right leg up. I'm going to thread the right leg over the top of the left one. And if I can, I'm going to try and just tuck the toes behind as well. So this is quite a difficult pose, don't worry if you fall in and out of it. I'm going to try and lift the arms a little bit more and engage through the belly button, sinking the hips down here. Trying to stay balanced. Remember, you can just keep your legs in chair or stay standing if that feels enough. Try and keep the hips equal, so try not to let your body twist to the side here. And then gently releasing the legs, well done. Taking the arms out towards the side, giving them a wiggle again. And then just taking the hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers, lifting the chest, just a little release. Just breathing deeply. We come over to the other side. So take the arms up overhead. This time the right arm comes underneath the left, coming over to the other side. We're going to lift the elbows to be in line with our gaze, drawing the shoulders down the back. Then this time the left leg comes on top as we have the right leg underneath. So we're going to just draw it across the top of the right knee. We're going to try and sink down as far as feels comfortable. Keeping the belly button engaged. Try to grow long through the spine to help us balance. Remember, you can keep the legs just in a chair or standing if that feels better for you. Trying to keep both hips facing forward, so trying to fight any twisting action towards the side. And then standing back up, well done. Releasing the arms, drawing them out. And then taking them behind the back, interlacing the fingers, squeezing them behind you. Lifting through the chest. Well done, that's all your hard work done, so great work. Circling the arms up overhead, drawing the hands into prayer, and exhaling, folding forward. Just taking a moment in the forward fold, this time the left foot's going to go behind the right. So I'm going to step the left foot behind me and then take it so that the toes of the left foot just align with the right heel. So this helps me get a little bit deeper into the stretch in the back of the left leg. You can round in here, or if you want, you can keep the back a little straighter, which is what I tend to do. That's just personal preference. I'm going to try and make sure both hips are facing forward. I'm going to try and correct the twist here. Try and keep the weight even through the feet. And then switching over sides, so the left foot comes forward, and the right foot comes behind, and then the toes just to the inside, the outside edge of the left foot. So again, you can keep the hands on the block if that works for you, or you can round in as well. And then from here, we're going to come to a seated pose. So you can find any way down to the mat, or if you want, just gently come down to seated. So we're going to have a go now at a pose called log stack. So this is actually quite an advanced position for your legs, so don't worry if you can't do it. Remember, you always have the option to sit on a block here to lift the hips slightly, which will make the pose a little bit more accessible if you've got tight hips. Or you can also stay in a seated pose, or even a seated pose with the block is fine. You'll still be able to do the other half of the pose. So I'm going to take the right leg underneath. I want the shin to be parallel with the edge of a mat. So it doesn't matter if it's the top or the side, just wherever you're facing. Then I'm going to take the left leg on top. So the left foot rests on top of the right knee, and the left knee is on top of the right foot. I'm going to grow nice and tall, take the arms up overhead, and then find a gentle twist. So the left hand comes to the outside of the left knee, the right hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, twisting, gazing over the right shoulder. So remember, you can do this in a seated pose as well, or you can use a block here as well to help you. And coming back to centre and over to the other side, so the right hand comes to the outside of the left knee, left hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, finding a twist. And then back towards centre. From here, coming to a wide angle forward fold. So we're going to take the legs nice and wide. I always sit on a block for these poses because I'm quite tight across the hips. And remember, if you sit on a block, you want to sit right to the back of the block. And take the feet as wide as feels comfortable. Remember, we're not going for groin injuries, we're going for stretching, so don't overdo it. And take the arms up overhead. And as we exhale, we're going to start to fold forward and keep the back lovely and long, drawing the chest through first. If you want to walk the hands out and round through the back, then that's fine. Generally, I tend to stay quite upright in my stretches, as I find that works better for me. Just taking a moment or so here, just keeping a slight bend in the knee too, just a micro bend, so we're not hyper extending through the joints, not putting it too much pressure on the back of the knees. And then slowly walking the hands back in, and draw the legs in, remove any blocks as necessary, and come into a bridge pose now. So to come into bridge, we're just going to come down to our mat, make sure the shoulders feel nice and broad at first. Then I'm going to take the heels to be about hand and wrist distance away from the butt. I'm going to just bring awareness back to the feet for a moment, keep the inner arches lifted. So that's this bit of the foot, nice and up, active. And the pressure is equal between the ball of the foot, below the toes, and the heels. Then from here, pressing into the heel, lifting the hips up off the mat. We're going to try and tuck the shoulders underneath us. And you've got the option to hold onto the sides of the mat, or if you want, you can interlace the hands underneath you, which is generally my preference, but it's up to you. We're going to lift the hips nice and high, and perhaps briefly come onto the tiptoes. Breathing deeply, lifting the chest if you can. And then taking the heels down, releasing the hands and tucking the shoulders, rolling all the way back down to the mat. Great work. Just taking a moment here, maybe rocking the legs gently left and right. In between rounds, we're going to take another round of bridge in a second. And then when you're ready, just coming back to center, setting yourself up, pressing through the heels, lifting up through the hips, tucking the shoulders underneath you, interlacing the fingers. Great work. Maybe coming onto the tiptoes for a second if that works for you. And then gently drawing the heels down, releasing the hands and tucking the shoulders, rolling all the way back down to the mat here. Just taking a moment, nice deep inhale, and then exhale, let it go. Coming into happy baby now, I take the hands to the inside of the knees and catch hold of the outside of the feet if available. If you can't reach the feet, holding onto the legs is fine as well. And maybe rocking gently left and right, just giving the lower back a little bit of a massage if that feels good for you. And then from here, we find our way into recline pigeon. So I'm going to release the feet back down. I'm going to take the left foot up and rest it on the back of the right knee. This is enough. You can stay here, that's perfectly fine. If you want to get a little deeper into the stretch, draw the legs in and then maybe take the hands through to rest on the back of the hamstring. So keep the shoulders relaxed here. You'll sometimes find teachers also giving you the cue to maybe hold the front of the shin. Only do this if you can keep your shoulders on the ground. So you see my shoulders are now lifted. I want to keep them on the ground. So what that means is I'm going to be nice and relaxed through the upper body whilst I'm in the stretch, which will help the rest of the body relax and hopefully get deeper. So yeah, is another option to hold onto the front of the shin, but generally I think this is plenty enough. You can just pull in a little bit harder if you want to come deeper. And coming over to the other side, left foot comes down, right foot sits on the back of the left knee, and we thread the hands through underneath the leg, drawing yourself in as best you can, keeping the shoulders relaxed too. And then when you're ready, just releasing that leg down as well. Great work. From here, we find our way into our reclined twist, so we can come over to the left side of the mat. And extend the legs out in front of you. And then draw the left knee into the chest. So you've got an option today too to try the sort of eagle bind of the legs in the twist. If that sounds too much, then don't worry. All you're going to do is, as usual, take the right hand to the outside of the left leg and the left hand out. If you want to add in the twist, you're just going to draw the right leg up underneath you. If you can hook the legs. I feel like that's a bit much. And what we're going to do is just shift our weight first of all, so that the right hip's on the mat and the left hip's lifted, and then draw ourselves across. You can then also draw the legs a little bit higher if that works for you. You might find that you get a couple of extra sort of clicks and releases in the back through doing this. But keeping the right leg extended underneath you is also perfectly fine. Just another option for you to try. See if it works for you or not. And then slowly coming back towards centre. And then over to the other side. So coming over to the right side now. Extending the left leg out underneath us regardless at first. Remember, if you don't have space to fully extend the arm, that's fine. You can just bend it to 90 degrees. I would take the left hand to the outside of the right knee. You can draw it straight across if you don't want to try the bind. If you want to try the little leg bind, we're just going to take the right leg to sit in underneath the left. I'm then going to tuck the left hip underneath me and draw myself across. So you can interlace the legs also into this position once you're lying down. Just gazing over towards the right if that feels good for you. And then slowly coming back towards centre. You're coming into a full body stretch, so taking the arms up overhead. Nice deep inhale, extending the legs, pressing through the heels. And then as you exhale, just letting the arms come down the sides of the body. And just taking the palms to face up. Just spending a moment here in Shavasana, our final pose. If you've got time to stay here for a few minutes, maybe even putting on one of your favourite relaxing songs. Just taking the time to absorb the practice and just chilling out for that little bit longer, please do. If you've got a busy day ahead or perhaps a dinner to prepare, maybe the end of your lunch break, you need to get on with things. And just taking a very brief moment just to feel how relaxed the body is. The shoulders are broad, the muscles in the face relax, the legs heavy. And then we're going to give the fingers and the toes a little wiggle, just drawing some life back in. And when you're ready, rolling over to one side and just taking a moment to rest there. And then in your own time, just pressing your way back up towards seated, tucking the legs underneath you, rocking gently left and right on the sit bones, finding a nice neutral seat, growing tall through the spine, rolling the shoulders up, back and down. On the inhale, drawing the hands into prayer, lifting the chest, and exhaling, bowing the head. Namaste.